Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Chasing Optimum. I have a great guest today, Olivia Arezzollo.
Well done.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi. Now, you were one of my first podcast guests, I don't know, 4 years ago or something, a long time ago. And when I had no idea what I was doing. And it's long time's progressed. But I think a lot of people are going to know who you are just by your branding and how well you're known. But even if people don't, I do want to start a little bit on your background. So you are the number one sleep expert in Australia or the world, one of the two, probably the world, but
in Australia, and I'm becoming more known around the world.
You are, yes, you are, and you've just been on a media tour through America and where else?
I was on a media tour throughout the US, and then I was also over in Vietnam doing a sleep retreat with the Western Hotel.
Awesome. Fantastic. So a bit of background. So if people are listening to this, I have to be honest, when I first heard about you're a sleep expert, I'm like, how hard is it? Just go to sleep. That's literally what I thought years and years and years ago. And I don't know who put me onto you somewhere. And then I heard when you spoke about, we've got a book that you've written as well. But as I've learned more, especially in more recent times, I'm talking the last year, I realise how important sleep is, but how many people have no idea what they're doing at all, how to manage it, whatever. We're going to talk all about that. But a little bit of background on yourself.
Sure.
So you've got, where did I see? You were doing something and then you chose to go down the sleep path. Tell us about it.
So I have a background in psychology, sleep psychology, nutrition and fitness.
Yeah.
I studied a degree in all of those areas because I have a goal to help everyone feel their best inside and out. Now that...
Well, you have a degree in all of them.
Yes.
How many degrees do you have?
4. 9 years of study?
That's a lot.
I like learning.
I have none.
But you're an expert in life, Matt. So I set that goal and I, did my studies because when I was in my teens, I had extremely bad mental and physical health. I was severely depressed and severely anorexic and hospitalized for probably about 6 months in total. And, it was a really, really difficult time, but I was very fortunate to have support. And having that support made me realize I want to be that support for other people. I want to help them transform and them overcome their own challenges so they too can flourish and live life fully and freely and without fear.
Can I ask, I don't know much about anorexia, like what brought that on, like what created that?
Anorexia is a deep web of darkness. There's many knots, there's many root causes. I had a very difficult childhood. Was bullied really badly at school. You wouldn't pick that, I don't think.
No, not at all.
Yeah. I felt really socially isolated, very disconnected, didn't have strong bonds to my family. So, grew up feeling pretty miserable. Yeah.
And then you just not eating was just was it a soothing thing or something?
Yeah, so it was a way to communicate how upset I was. So I didn't have very good emotional communication skills. So I didn't know how to say, hey, I'm really struggling right now. I'm, to my parents and to the world outside me, I needed to say, you need to support me. I didn't know how to say these things to make it clear. So so basically, my anorexia was a signal to everyone to make them understand, hey, I'm really not coping with my life right now.
Got it. Yeah. Then you went to hospital and then come out and then went into study.
So I was in recovery programs for 6 weeks at one and then a month at another and then 3 months at another. And they taught me all of the, taught me how to reprogram my brain, how to connect with my purpose, how to find meaning, how to just evolve and get back on track with how a human is meant to live and how you can be happy and healthy.
Yeah, right. And so you chose psychology and fitness and this sort of stuff, and you did degrees.
Yeah. So, through that journey of recovery, you have to find meaning and, you set a lot of goals. And so I was always asking myself, why did I struggle through that? And what's the purpose of my life now? What do I want my life to be around? And I was having so much support through my team, through my parents, through my psychologist. I was like, I want to be exactly like them. I want to help people like I'm being helped. And so I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to help everyone feel their best inside and out. That's what I'm going to do. So I thought, all right, that's a great goal, Olivia. How are you going to do that? Okay, I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn about the body. I'm going to learn about the mind. And so that's why I thought I have to study. I have to study psychology and sleep and fitness and nutrition, because then I will understand exactly how to help everyone feel their best inside and out.
Were you naturally academic?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've always been quite academic, and to be completely honest, because I was bullied in high school, I made friends with my teachers.
Really?
And so then I would always try and like overachieve for my teachers to get these, good marks. So then I would get like recognition and, like, well, I don't care if you're bullying me. I'm friends with the teachers. So I'd always, because I didn't have friends, on my weekends, I would spend my time doing projects and, like extra assignments that I would just set myself.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Wow. You'd never think that.
Yeah.
And then, what made you go the sleep path? How did that evolve?
So I was doing coaching in various areas, mindset, weight loss, fitness, and I had some sleep clients. And basically I was just combining all of my degrees and helping them improve their sleep with, science-based strategies. And they got really good results really fast. And so they started telling their friends about it. And then a lot of people started coming to me, and I thought, wow, this is really interesting, because I haven't had sleep problems myself, so I didn't realize that it was such an issue. But the amount of people that were coming to me, like within, in the very early phases of being able to advise and recommend, it was like nothing else I've seen. Because this was 2018. Nobody was talking about sleep. Nobody was helping with sleep. And I thought to myself, I was like, if they weren't coming to me, who would they be going to? Not a doctor, because,
doctors don't specialize in that.
Yeah, doctors don't specialize, but also, doctors work on the biomedical model, which is that there's not a problem until it's broken. And so what about the people that aren't necessarily broken, but they just want that little bit of advice? They just know that they want
improvement.
Yeah, they just want to, be proactive about improving their sleep.
That was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was exactly me.
Yeah, like you didn't have, you weren't diagnosed with insomnia.
No.
But you just said, hey, I want to sleep better. I want to feel more energetic. I want to stop waking up at 3 a.m., which we're still working on.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So I thought, who is the go-to sleep expert in Australia?
Was there one?
No, and I thought, I don't think there's anyone. And so I thought, I'm going to be this person. I will be the sleep queen. I will be the sleep leader. I will be the sleep expert that people can go to. And I'm going to just test. I'm just going to test out and see and just feel into this.
So how did you study it though? How did you study sleep?
So
was there a course?
Yeah.
Is there a degree?
Yeah, so it's a certificate of sleep psychology, but it was also the underpinnings of, psychology and nutrition and fitness, right? And so when I started specializing in sleep, I looked at those areas and I thought, okay, so like the psychology, for example, I learned about, intentions and beliefs and attitude formations and things like that. And I thought, okay, so how can that apply to sleep? when it comes to nutrition, I thought, okay, so I understand all of these different micronutrients and macronutrients. How can they support sleep? And so then I did a lot more research, just independent research as well. And then learnt, all of the ins and the outs of sleep. And then, you sort of...
And build your model.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The Olivia sleep system.
Yeah. My sleep strategies.
So can you tell me, I never write questions down before I do podcasts, pretty much ever. But I've got a number of them today because I didn't want to forget. And I also want to that's my academic approach. It's like, can you explain what sleep is? But before you say it, because people talk about circadian rhythm and what is the cycle of sleep that people, because I didn't know much of, like you hear things, but you go to sleep and then what happens? So just so people can build the picture. So when you're talking about other things today, they can relate it to what you're saying.
Sure. So sleep is so we have sleep cycles, 90-minute cycles, in which we move from light sleep to slightly deeper sleep to deep sleep to REM sleep. Now that block goes for 90 minutes. And so if you are finding that you're waking up, it's probably going to be 90-minute increments after you have fallen asleep.
So so when you go to sleep, let's go to bed at 9 o'clock. So 10:30 up until 10:30 is a light sleep?
No. You actually go through that cycle. So you go from light sleep to slightly deeper sleep to deep sleep, and then you go back up to light sleep within that first 90 minutes.
Oh, that's all of it in 90 minutes.
Yeah. So the sleep psychologists who termed this were very creative with their naming. So it's called non-REM stage 1, and that's light sleep, non-REM stage 2, that's slightly deeper sleep, non-REM, then non-REM stage 3 and 4, deep sleep.
Is this all in the 90-minute cycle?
Yes.
Okay.
And then in the second half in the last third of the evening, you have REM sleep, and that pretty much replaces your stage 3, 4 non-REM deep sleep.
So let's just go back a little bit. So you've 90 minutes and then you go into another 90 minutes.
Yes.
And then REM or one more and then REM.
Yeah. So usually you'll have 4 to 5 sleep cycles a night, depending on how long you're sleeping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the REM kick in at a particular one or can it change?
Typically it kicks in after 3 a.m.
After 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go through all the 90 minutes over and over and over again until REM kicks in.
Yeah. But then
what is REM?
So REM sleep is rapid eye movement sleep. So it's basically it's called paradoxical sleep. It's when we dream. It's a very different sleep stage in that we have mainly rejuvenation benefits for the brain. There's a lot of brain detoxification happening. There's encoding of your memories. Basically, it is the clearance center for all cognitive processing.
Is that where you dream?
Yes.
In that part?
Yes.
So when you have those, like I did last night, had like this weird dream.
Yeah.
And you leave your body, I don't know where you are, you're in somewhere else, and that's where you are.
Yes, yeah. But I think the thing is, like, it sounds really complicated and scientific, and it kind of is, but at the end of the day, to know that there is light sleep and then there's deeper sleep, and that you're moving through that in a cyclical fashion through the night, that's important. Why is that important? Because sometimes you will be experiencing only light sleep and you won't actually get into that deeper sleep. And that's when you'll find you're really, really restless, you're unable to fall into deep rest, and basically you're woken at the drop of the hat. Now, there are many things that you can be doing throughout the day, throughout your bedtime routine that keep you in that light sleep, right? But equally, then there's lots of things that you can do to promote deep sleep. And basically, if you are experiencing too much light sleep, then this is an indication that you are not promoting you're not doing enough sleep supportive strategies throughout the day and prior to bed. Now, I think it's also really important to know that even if you are getting, only 5 hours of sleep, for example, because not everyone has the capacity to sleep, your ideal 7 to 9 hours. Now, this can be really concerning for a lot of people, but if you actually are getting deeper quality sleep, even if you're sleeping for 5 hours, that can be more beneficial than if you're having 8 hours of just light sleep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So if I wake up at 4 a.m. sometimes, because sometimes I'm like, oh, it's a bit early, I'll just stay in bed, but I feel wide awake. I should just get up.
Potentially, yeah. But more so I'm saying like if you know that you don't have, 8 hours of sleep time, then being proactive around what you're doing to improve your sleep throughout the day, this can mitigate the impact of having insufficient sleep quantity.
So if you go to bed later, for instance,
and
you know you've got to get up at 5 in the morning, you can do things to, we'll get to that.
Correct,
for sure.
Correct.
So that sleep cycle, if you have an 8 hour sleep cycle, how many REM times do you have in there? Just one or more?
2 usually.
2. So in a typical really good night's sleep, you'll have 2 lots of those. So the rest is just those sleep cycles.
It depends on how long you're sleeping. But basically, in an ideal world, and this is for the trackers of our community, you want to spend 20% of your total sleep time in deep sleep, and you want to spend 25% of your total sleep time in REM sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anything else on sleep cycle? Or no?
I think it's also important to mention during deep sleep, that's when we get the ultimate rejuvenation from sleep. So that's when human growth hormone is optimized.
In the deep sleep cycle?
Yes.
Not the REM cycle?
No.
I always pictured REM. That's why I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
And because I always hear people talk about REM like it's some goal line. That you get.
All right. So deep sleep or stage 3, 4 non-REM sleep, that is primarily designed for physical rejuvenation. So that's when human growth hormone is produced. 70% of it is produced in deep sleep. And human growth hormone is the key catalyst for cellular repair, collagen production, metabolism, basic lean muscle mass development. So that's very physical. And then when it comes to REM sleep, that is more the brain cognitive benefits and also the emotional well-being benefits. Okay. So that's when you get detoxification of beta amyloid, which is a neurotoxin to contribute to brain fog and memory loss if it's not cleared out. That's when you have replenishment of dopamine and adrenaline and serotonin, your happiness and awakening hormones. That's when you have your encoding of memories. So basically you get memories transferred from short-term over to long-term memory, which allows you to start the day feeling fresh because you're not cluttered with the memories from that were still formed the day before.
So if you're not getting enough sleep, I know we don't feel good, but there's no rejuvenate like this. If someone's just going through, like if they have too much caffeine or something, they're not focused on this and they're not getting enough sleep in general and they're feeling it, you're not really going deep enough. You're not rebuilding yourself. Is that what's happening?
Yeah. So, there are many consequences of, poor quality sleep and lack of sleep, be it from increased risk of anxiety disorders and depression to increases in burnout,
Yes. I was thinking adrenal overload, burnouts.
Yes. Well, like for example, when you aren't sleeping enough, when you're getting only 4 hours of sleep, you have an increase in stress hormone cortisol by 37%. Now that leaves you feeling wired, wired, awake, unable to switch off, super, super stressed, super anxious, right?
Yes.
And so then what also happens is when you aren't sleeping enough, you get dysfunction of your HPA axis, which is the brain region to control cortisol. So constantly you have an over-exacerbated cortisol response. So anytime you feel slightly stressed, you'll become extremely stressed. Now, this is also laced into the amygdala. So the amygdala overreacts when you are sleep deprived. So amygdala is responsible, is the brain region to detect fear and threat. Now, if you are walking around and there is a 60% increase in the reactivity in the amygdala, which happens with lack of sleep, that means that whenever anything is slightly anxiety provoking, all of a sudden the molehill becomes a mountain.
Yeah. Like mums with a young baby and things like this.
You're just so emotional all the time. And I hear this all the time. Yeah. People who are not sleeping enough, it's like they have no control over their emotions. They will get set off with a drop of a hat.
Makes sense.
This is big.
That's sort of what I was saying then. I was like listening to you. If you don't have that cycle going on, you're like surfacey all the time.
Yeah.
You're not
but it's also
resetting.
Correct. It's also laced into what's happening in your brain. So when you have quality sleep, it restores the functioning of your frontal lobe. Now, your frontal lobe is responsible for decision-making, judgment, impulse control, emotional regulation. When you don't sleep enough or don't have enough good quality sleep, the frontal lobe doesn't get restored. So this is why you're unable to focus, you're unable to concentrate, you're unable to make decisions. You make impulsive decisions based on emotions, not rational logic, right?
What happens when people they go out on a bender and they haven't slept for a day or so, or 2 days? What happens to your brain and stuff?
I don't even know. I don't. I think you need to catch it. I think you need a lot of sleep after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, sleep is not just important for our health. It's imperative.
It's everything.
It's everything. It's not. And this is also why I went into it, because when I learned all of the intertwinings between sleep and mental health, sleep and cognitive health, even sleep and physical health. If you're sleeping 5 hours rather than 8, you have a 45% greater likelihood of having a cardiovascular condition, like a heart attack. You are 5 times more likely to have type 2 diabetes, increased risk of hypertension, increased risk of obesity. These are lifestyle illnesses that are inhibiting our optimal functioning. And similarly, if you look at the research between insomniacs, people that have long-term sleep issues, and mental health, there is no one mental illness where sleep is normal. Every single mental illness has abnormalities in sleep.
Wow.
And there's also a 17% greater likelihood that an insomniac will have an anxiety disorder. There's a 10 times greater likelihood that an insomniac will have depression. So basically, all of your mental health and physical health and cognitive health ties back to sleep. And so basically, if you are trying to prove any area of your well-being, start with sleep. It's the needle that moves the thread.
It's almost like the foundation for the house that you're going to build. You can't stick the roof on without the foundation being
correct. So a lot of people are trying to, lose weight, or they're trying to work on their mindset, or they're trying to
even perform better at their work.
Exactly. Accelerate at work, be peak performers. Start with your sleep. it's a natural consequence of quality sleep that all areas improve. So basically, if you start with your sleep, you allow yourself to thrive.
Yeah.
But if you don't start with your sleep, then you're handicapping yourself.
Yeah.
And you're ill-equipping yourself. You're cutting yourself short.
Yeah. So what would be the ideal bedtime routine?
Ideal bedtime
Talk
routine.
me through it.
Sure. So I think it's interesting. I think the last time we did our podcast, I had a 7-step bedtime routine.
Yeah.
Now that's very ambitious.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's
Yeah.
no, I don't want to even do 7 steps. But I think this was when I was a bit more, a bit more starry-eyed
Yeah.
and everything.
We've grown.
We've grown. We've grown now. I shave it back to 4 fundamentals. 4 steps is much more
Talk me
realistic.
through
Okay. Step 1, block out blue light. I see you wearing your blue light glasses and it makes me happy each time. All right.
So tell me what blue light is.
Okay. So blue light is a spectrum of light. It is the sleep suppressive light spectrum. So why is it sleep suppressive? It particularly suppresses melatonin, our sleep promoting hormone. Now, there's been researchers found blue light for 1 hour before bed can suppress 99% of melatonin. Even dim light before bed can suppress. Yeah, it's interesting. And then dim light before bed can suppress 78% of melatonin. Now, that's not to say that your melatonin then doesn't start to replenish itself once that light is off. But a lot of people have that experience of being unable to switch off. And then there's light all around them.
Yeah.
And it's not just light from your phone, which is the worst because it's the closest to your face and it's the brightest. But also there's ceiling lights. There's the TV. There's the Kindle. There's a laptop you were just on. These are all light emitting sources. And so honestly, one of the best things and the place I always start is block out blue light. Ideally start with 2 hours before bed. If that's too long, then 1 hour before bed. If that's too long, half an hour before bed. But if you want to
just do what you can do.
Just do what you can do and start with what's realistic for you. But for ideally that you're putting blue light glasses on and you're reducing blue light, you're dimming lights, you're dimming screen brightness, you are using red night lights, not your standard ceiling lights from 2 hours before bed. Then 1 hour before bed, you are jumping in a shower. Shower can help you produce melatonin because when your body drops in core body temperature, which happens when you move from a warm shower to a cooler bathroom, this catalyzes melatonin production. Very helpful. Melatonin is our key sleepiness hormone to fall and stay asleep. Therefore, you have a shower and you find yourself more tired. You find yourself more tired and easier to switch off.
Yeah.
Helpful.
Yes.
Now, the next step from that one is to take natural sleep supplements.
Okay. Which would be?
So my gold standards are magnesium glycinate, not just magnesium, but magnesium glycinate. There are 300 different forms of magnesium. Now, magnesium glycinate is the most beneficial for sleep. And there's been research that's found that it can reduce anxiety by 31%. So it's really helpful because anxiety may be experienced as inability to switch off or it may be experienced as 3 a.m. wakings.
Yeah, which we're going to talk about.
Which we will talk about. In addition to magnesium, I also recommend an adaptogen. Now, adaptogens help buffer the release of cortisol, that stress hormone that's keeping us all up. Now, adaptogens is a group of supplements, but what specific adaptogens do I recommend? Ashwagandha, fantastic. Reishi mushrooms, fantastic. And CBD, fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah. So looping back to the start, you've got your blue light glasses on, you're blocking out blue light, then you're having a shower, then you're taking some natural sleep supplements, and then you are having 30 minutes of non-negotiable tech-free time. In that tech-free time, you are either reading or meditating or listening to calming music. Each of these behaviors helps move the brain into a slower brainwave pattern from a very active alpha and beta brainwave, which is what we're in right now, into a slower theta pattern. And that allows you to feel drowsy and allows you to fall asleep when you put your eye mask on, when you actually turn the lights out.
So do you wear an eye mask all the time, even in a dark room? Because I have one.
Yeah.
And I wear it.
Yeah.
But I think, am I just being stupid because I'm in a dark room?
No. Okay, so I do wear an eye mask, and it's not just about the room itself, but it's also about that is then my sleep sanctuary. I'm in my sleep pod. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
like a trigger.
Correct.
Everything goes,
exactly right.
Routine.
It is. And, I think this is super, super important for especially people who are sleeping with their phone within arm's reach, which is not what I recommend, but it's something that a lot of us still do. But the thing is, if your eye mask's on, then you have to physically remove that to reach over to get your phone to check it out for whatever, And that physical act places a barrier between you and your phone, which is helpful.
I leave my phone in the kitchen now. I heard you talk about something somewhere a while ago, and it's been great because you just don't check it till the morning. I probably check it a bit too early, like as in I get up and do a couple of things and check it. I should leave a bit longer, but it has been a game changer. Just the rest, yes, but that one thing, because your brain's not attached to it then next to your bed.
Correct.
Yeah,
there's research that's found even if the phone is off next to your bed, you will still sleep worse than if it is in another room. It's a cue for stimulation. As soon as you see that phone, you think, who's messaged me? Totally. What's going on in my emails?
Yeah.
What's going on Instagram?
Yeah.
What's on TikTok?
Even checking the clock in the night.
Yeah.
You wake up, turn it over, check the clock, and then that light comes in.
Yes.
I just don't care about the time now. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So hot and cold therapy. So I have a sauna every night.
Yes.
And then I have a quick ice bath. 1 minute. Tell me about it.
So that one is controversial. I'm not gonna lie. So the sauna I definitely recommend. So as long as it's sufficiently early enough, because basically you don't want to heat up your core body temperature too much just before sleep. Otherwise, you can impair the production of melatonin, which relies on a cool core body temperature, right? But if you have that, a few hours before bed, then what it can do is actually promote fatigue, promote tiredness, because when you are heating your body up, your body has to work harder to just maintain its normal functioning, because it has to be at a 37-degree, range, right?
Yeah.
So by being in, a 50-degree or 60-degree sauna, whatever it is, you're forcing your body to overexert itself to simply remain functioning, which is partially why we get tired.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very helpful.
So it's just working real hard to sort of say, hey, I'm not going to pop my head off here. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So super, super helpful.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of research around the benefits of infrared and traditional saunas for sleep and for anxiety and for pain management. So it's having a sauna before bed is something I definitely recommend.
Just not too close.
Just not too close. Yeah. Leave it a few hours. The ice bath though, that's interesting because it's so cold, so it typically promotes awakening hormones.
Okay.
So I feel like everyone has variation and everyone has certain nuances. That might just be like a Matt thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But everyone has, their own routine of what works for them. And if you're finding what works for you, but if you actually look at the research, it wouldn't be recommended for everyone to have an ice bath before bed because it does promote alertness and it increases adrenaline and it, helps us. Basically, it puts us into fight or flight, which is
true.
Yeah. So I wouldn't recommend it for everyone before bed, but I completely understand. There's the research and then there's also the lived experience.
Yeah.
And you might have a very different lived experience to the research. And if it's working for you, then honor that. But if for whatever reason you find yourself not being able to sleep, then you can also
Take
go
it
back.
out.
Exactly. Okay, well.
Yeah. I just want to talk about Whoop.
Yes.
Okay, so I have other questions here, but on teenagers and toddlers and things like this. But can we talk about Whoop quickly? Because I used it and then I contacted you, and it was actually wrecking my sleep, I reckon. And I don't mean Whoop was. I mean the mental. I think I don't know what was going on. I was more interested in getting this score than I was focusing on the sleep.
Yes.
And you said get rid of it.
Yes.
And
okay.
I did, and my sleep went back to good.
Yeah.
And again, it's probably not for everyone, but I just, because I was like, why is everyone measuring their sleep and all of this? And it's funny, if I didn't have, because I'd have like the yellow, so it was green, yellow, and red. And if I got the yellow, I'd actually convince myself that I haven't slept properly. And I would feel different in the day because I would be thinking about, I didn't get green. I don't know. I just found that it was more of a like gamify sleep in a way, and I understand there's some merit to it. But what's your thoughts?
So it can be helpful for some people, but also it can be an inhibitor for others like yourself. So often you become so obsessed with a score, you forget, well, what am I doing to improve the score? And you focus all around the metrics.
Yeah.
That's like somebody jumping on a scale and then just becoming obsessed with a scale without thinking, okay, well, what, if they're trying to lose weight, for example, and then they're just getting obsessed about the number.
Yeah.
What are you doing to move the number?
Totally.
The same with your sleep score. What are you doing to move your sleep score? Like, focus your energy on your bedtime routine, on your diet, on your sleep psychology, all of the things that are going to improve your sleep. And then you'll find that the tracking takes care of itself.
Yeah, it's true. Because if I'd wake up at 4, I'd be like, oh, I wonder what the Whoop score is.
Yeah.
A bit like that, rather than just easing into the day.
Yeah.
So it was a real distraction for me.
Yeah. So for you, it was driving anxiety.
Yeah, it was. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And then anxiety inhibits sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, it can be beneficial, but for some like yourselves, it was a problem. And so it's about recognizing, hey, actually, this is causing me more distress and more sleep disturbance than it is to be a sleep support. So it's not for me. And also, because it does give you this score, then you become reliant on the score to tell you, how do I feel?
For sure. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And without asking yourself, how do I feel? How did I sleep? Because you yourself can understand, did I sleep well? Did I not sleep well? If you feel rested or if you do not. But if you completely rely on a score and you completely, disconnect from your feelings, then all of a sudden you could have had a great night's sleep, but because your score told you that you didn't, you've completely forgot about that. And then you're feeling anxious and miserable that your score didn't tell you that you got a good result, right? Right.
Exactly right. Yeah. Why do teenagers need more sleep? Like my 13-year-old, she just loves sleeping, and I'm fine with it. Like I just let her do her thing. Should we let them sleep longer? She's hopeless at going to bed. She'll stay up till 12, and you can't push them too hard. Like what do I do?
Okay, so teenagers do need more sleep than adults.
Yeah.
They need 9 to 11 hours a night.
Okay.
Now, they also have a delayed circadian phase. So, I wrote my book, Bear, Lion, Wolf.
Yes.
So that's around the crux of bear, lion, wolf is, are you an early riser, early to bed? Are you a late riser, late to bed? Or are you somebody neither here nor there, but you need lots of sleep? Now, in terms of teenagers, they are typically wolves. They are liking to go to bed late and they want to wake up late. Now, this is nothing to do with their phones, or not only to do with their phones, but all mammals going through puberty experience a circadian delay.
Really?
Yeah, like all mammals, like all species of mammals, right? And so it's interesting that, in
circadian is the rhythm going to sleep, is it? Like what is circadian?
Circadian is basically sleep timing. So they experience circadian delay. So it's they don't want to go to bed until really late and they don't want to wake up until really late. Okay, but the thing is that most teens naturally don't want to go to bed until 12, 1 o'clock. That's in alignment with their circadian, preferences, natural preferences as a teenager. The problem is that if they're going to bed at 12 or 1 o'clock and they're waking up for school at 6,
this is my concern.
7.
This is my concern.
Correct. All right. So then they're actually, and remember, they don't need, like adults need 7 to 9 hours. They need 9 to 11 hours. So they're going to bed at, let's say, 1 o'clock by the time they're actually asleep, and then they're waking up at 6:30. How many hours of sleep is that?
Yeah, not much, 5.
That's 5.5 hours, whereas they need 9 to 11. So no wonder on the weekend, all they want to do is sleep.
She does. She just wants to stay in bed.
They are so sleep deprived through the week. It's actually been really interesting because there's been a lot of controversy around start times, and there's been a lot of research that's found by delaying school start times for teenagers, they see improvements in academic performance, they see improvements in mental health. There's also decline in road accidents for teenagers because by expecting that they are going to be bright, fresh as a button by 8 o'clock in the morning is not in alignment with their biology. And it has, sure we can, try and, go to bed a bit early and everything. But at the end of the day, that's their circadian needs. That's their circadian biology.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, because I'm just thinking, even today, Flora come out of bed and goes to school. And it's just too early for her.
Yeah.
And I text her at about 9 every night, and I said, "Can you make sure you go to bed soon?" She's like, "Yeah." And I just know she's not listening because she's not even nearly ready to.
Yeah,
you can just tell.
Correct. Yeah, so it's like, all right. So you are a super early riser, and you're super early to bed, right? Yeah. So what time do you usually go to bed?
I love going to bed at 8:30.
All right. What if I said to you, "Hey, can you stay up until 11:30?"
Can't do it.
It's exactly the same. So her trying to get up at 6:37 a.m. is as difficult for you to stay up to 11:30.
What should I do? What should parents do?
Okay, so
how do we manage them so we give them the best shot?
Yeah. So one of the best things that you can do is there's been a lot of research that's found you can alter sleep times and manage the delayed circadian phase by having 2 hours of blue light glasses before bed and having light therapy glasses, which are blue light emitting, in the morning. Now, blue light glasses in the morning are basically, they mimic sunlight. So
the blue light, which ones? The ones in the morning, the ones in the I don't know if Flora will wear 2 pairs.
Yeah.
Can I just ask if she just did the blue lights at night?
Yeah, and then
that going to help?
Yes. So in the evening, and then getting exposure to 20 minutes of sunlight, bright sunlight outside in the morning as early as possible.
Okay.
Now that is going to help entrain her circadian rhythm and circadian preferences to more of a daylight cycle. day-night cycle, which is more conducive with earlier bedtimes and earlier wake times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So should you wear the blue light things from 8 o'clock or something, should you?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 hours before bed at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's like, especially for teenagers, because they're so like it's so far from their innate preferences. You need to be really, really vigilant and really, really proactive with that bedtime routine in particular.
I'll get them today, Pura.
Yes.
And then on the weekends, should we just let them sleep as long as they want?
Yeah. So this is an interesting one because, you know, there's reasons why you should and there's reasons why you should not. Okay. In the should category, you know, there's research that's found if you actually have that recovery sleep from when you're having a sleep debt, because let's say, you know, she's only getting 5.5 hours of quality sleep a night. So she's building up a sleep debt of 5.5 hours every night. So she gets to the end of the week, that's 25 hours that she has to catch up on, right? That's a lot of sleep. That's just 1 week. So the thing is that there's been research that's found that the rejuvenation benefits of that recovery sleep actually do occur. You do have, you know, a catch up in terms of your body recovery, your slow wave sleep, your REM sleep, the benefits of each sleep stage. So, you know, I'm more in the case for it. However, it's also challenging in the case against it is that then basically you are encouraging that short sleep, light sleep, which isn't ideal. And basically the ideal is to get adequate sleep each night. Okay. But that's ideal. Life is not ideal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And with toddlers,
yes.
Can you give them do you have a problem giving them the melatonin gummies?
Toddlers are not a group that I particularly work a lot with, so I don't really have a great insight into this one, but I wouldn't really recommend melatonin for, you know, as a standard sleep protocol across the board, just because there's been a lot of research that's found that there's so much variation within melatonin supplements. There was one study that found it was, versus what was on the packet, it was 478% more or 150% less.
Okay. So you don't know what you're getting, in other words.
You don't know what you're getting. And this is interesting because I feel like a lot of people who take melatonin, they tell me sometimes I sleep great, sometimes can't sleep. Other times I wake up feeling exhausted. And this to me tells me that it's likely that that variation is true.
So you're better off focusing on the sleep routine.
Yeah. Because like, you know, in terms of, you know, toddler sleep, that bedtime routine that I just meant that we went through before, that can be, you know, applied to toddlers as well. You know, they might not be wearing blue light glasses, but having a red night light and not having any screen time.
Yeah.
You know, having a bedtime bath, having, you know, natural sleep supplements for toddlers. I'm not so sure about that one. But, you know, 30 minutes of tech-free time.
Yes.
Having calming music playing while you're reading them a book.
Reading a book.
Yeah.
Like, laying down.
Yeah. You know, and these are safe, easy, simple, affordable techniques.
And I think, like you said before, it's like the eye mask. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's like the routine of getting them in this next, every day and consistent. And
any parent would know, you would know, the difference between when you have your bedtime routine for summer or when it's just a bit ad hoc.
Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah. All over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adults are exactly the same.
Yeah.
If you have a routine, then it's your body, your brain comes to expect what's next.
Yes.
You know that, okay, so when I have a shower, this comes next. Then this comes next. Then this comes next. And you do that enough and you encode it into your brain, then all of a sudden you naturally start as soon as, because it's actually like psychology, you prime your brain to start thinking about your bed and you start producing the hormones that are going to make you sleepy like you are in bed. But as soon as you get the cue that, oh, that's right, I'm going to bed soon, which is that shower, then it starts preparing your body psychologically and physiologically.
I was going to say like
sleep.
a cellular response. Your body goes into Pavlov dog.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
What about menopause?
Menopause.
What about menopause and sleep? Like actually one of Jackson's girlfriend's mum asked a question to Jackson. We ask you about can menopause affect sleep?
Absolutely. Menopause is an extremely sleep problematic time.
Yeah.
Like it's basically everyone going through menopause that I've spoken to is having night sweats through the night. They are waking up constantly. They are unable to switch off in the evening. They're not getting sufficient sleep. They're sleeping maybe 4 or 5 hours. And the problem is they're just accepting that that's just menopause. No, it's not. No. Sure, these things are more likely in menopause, but that doesn't mean that you just are going to suffer for the entire menopausal period. No. Okay, so what happens in menopause is there's a loss of estrogen, progesterone, and our, female hormones, right? So why this is a problem is because they help stabilize body temperature. Body temperature, remember, is critical for melatonin production. And so there's also, by that age, a significant loss in melatonin in itself. So basically you have less melatonin to promote sleep and you have your hormones are fluctuating. And so they usually stabilize body temperature, which isn't happening, which means that melatonin, again, isn't produced naturally and isn't produced in its optimum amounts as it needs to be. Couple that with increases in anxiety, which then inhibits sleep, increases in cortisol, our awakening hormone, which leaves us waking up 3 a.m., and that feeling that you can't do anything, a recipe for disaster. So what can you do if you are going through menopause? Okay, one of the fundamentals is you need to make sure that you are sleeping in a very cool room and if you can, sleep on a cooling mattress topper.
Do you have a recommendation for one?
Yeah, I do. I will share in the show notes.
Thanks.
Yeah. Basically, if you can keep your body temperature cool, this optimizes melatonin. This also optimizes, as a result, sleep.
Okay.
But also then recognizing that, okay, that's one issue, but, the increase in anxiety and feelings of depression and feeling completely out of control with your body, that's another issue. That drives anxiety up, that drives cortisol up, our awakening hormone, our stress hormone. And so, all right, so what are the practices that you are doing through the day in your bedtime routine in particular that are going to reduce your levels of cortisol, that awakening hormone, and make you feel more relaxed, more calm? So going back to the bedtime routine that I spoke about, those natural sleep supplements, they are effective for exactly this problem. So adaptogens help reduce cortisol. So are you having an adaptogen before bed? Are you having magnesium glycinate, which helps relax your muscles? And remember, your brain is a muscle. So that can help you feel more relaxed.
Should they stop caffeine altogether?
Yes. Caffeine, one coffee in the morning, completely okay. But most people are not just having one, they're having 2, 3, 4. This is a problem. caffeine spikes adrenaline. Adrenaline is an awakening hormone. If you are struggling with 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. nighttime wakings in general, don't encourage more alertness through your caffeine.
For sure.
But the thing is, it's, a lot of people know all of this, but it's just like, oh, okay.
Doing it.
Yeah.
So do you have a problem with air conditioning rooms?
Air conditioning rooms?
Yeah, air conditioned rooms, because you said, I was going to ask you about room temperatures and you just brought it up then. I like 20 degrees or 19, but the dog sleeps in my room in a cage, so I put on 20 now. I can't sleep in any hotter, but I have the air conditioning on. Do you have a problem with that?
No. It's something I'd recommend for sure. 18 degrees is ideal.
I love 18 degrees.
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit cold for the German Shepherd.
Yeah. It can be really beneficial, but also it provides white noise.
Does it?
Yeah. So that hum of the aircon, so that's a form of white noise. White noise helps.
What about for summer?
Sorry?
For summer, air conditioning, by summer.
Yeah.
Tara said, no, air conditioning is no good for...
No, there was a study on infants that found that using white noise helped them fall asleep 38% faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even the air conditioning in the room's not going to dry them out too much, right?
I don't think the research paper looked at that.
Okay.
But I think, to my knowledge, most air conditionings don't, cause that much dryness.
Okay.
But if it is a problem, then
I don't have a problem with it. Yeah.
I'm fine.
I just have a few more questions, if that's all right. Ozempic.
Yeah.
Ozempic. Does that affect sleep?
I actually haven't done any research on how Ozempic affects sleep. I've had a lot of friends that have told me it makes them feel very nauseous and sick. And that wouldn't be sleep friendly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you haven't done enough research on that.
No.
So eating before bed.
Yes.
Tell me about it. What should you do? What shouldn't you do? What affects your sleep?
Okay. So you want to have 3-hour window before.
3 hours.
3 hours. The others say 2, I say 3. Why? Because we don't have the gut function that we used to. So having 3 hours for bed is ideal between your last meal and bedtime. Now, you want that last meal to be sleep friendly. So I have an eat well, sleep well principles. So fatty fish, one of the best things you can have. Why? Because it's really high in tryptophan, which is the amino acid that your body uses to produce melatonin. It's also really high in healthy fats, omega-3 fatty acids. Now, this can help regulate the production of melatonin. It can also help calm your nervous system. So it's very, very helpful for anyone who is struggling to switch off or struggling with those 3 a.m. wakings.
Is that any fish?
Fatty fish. So fatty fish, salmon, tuna, sardines.
Yeah, so that type of fish.
And prawns as well.
Okay, love prawns.
Yeah, good. Prawns are good. Yeah. There's probably more, but those are the most popular ones.
We're not really fishermen here.
And it's also really high in vitamin D, which also is a cofactor for melatonin production. But let's say you don't like fatty fish. Chicken is also really high in tryptophan, and it's really light, easy to digest, which can be really helpful, especially if you are struggling with, bloating or things like this, which I know a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Let's say you are vegetarian, then I would recommend tofu and tempeh, seitan, legumes, high protein, quinoa. So basically you want to have a good protein source, but then you also want, if you're not going to have fatty fish, you also want to have, if you're having chicken or one of those vegetarian or vegan options, then you want to have healthy fats as well.
Avocado.
So, yes.
Nuts.
Avocado, nuts. Yeah.
Seeds.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So stick to that. No carbs.
Carbs are okay. So you want to make sure, ideally, that they're cooked though, because if you have raw vegetables, it can be really hard for your body to digest, and this can prolong the time that your body is simply digesting your dinner, and this can delay your sleep time.
Okay. So don't eat too close to bed and don't eat too much.
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to have like a
no
lot.
dessert.
Dessert.
Sugars.
Dessert. If you want to have some dessert, I'd recommend some. I don't know if people have this for dessert, but I sometimes do. Like a banana protein smoothie.
Yeah.
That can be really, really good for dessert.
Yeah.
So banana has a little bit of sweetness, has a little bit of carbohydrates, which can help produce melatonin, because you need a certain amount of carbohydrates to convert protein into the melatonin.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, and then it adds that sweetness. Yeah.
So banana protein smoothie.
Yeah.
Okay. Shift workers.
Oh, God.
Tell me, what do they do? Tell me what shift workers do.
Quit their job.
Yeah. How do they balance it?
Okay, so recognizing that even though you might have the capacity to sleep throughout the day, your sleep will never be the quality that it is in the evening. Why? Because the human's body is not designed to sleep throughout the day. For thousands and thousands of years, we have been sleeping when it is dark outside. Just because we have a job that requires us to sleep through the day doesn't mean our biology changes. So, yeah, when I say like quit your job, like I mean that is my first recommendation. See if you can not do shift work, because shift work has been classified as a stage, as a probable carcinogen, because of the impact on the circadian rhythm. Basically, it increases the risk of cancer. It increases the risk of all of these different illnesses. And so the best thing that I can recommend is try not to do it. But that's an idea. Exactly right.
We need the police people. We need the nurses.
Right? Exactly. We do. So, all right. So how are you going to manage it? Right. So I've had a few clients that have had shift work, and I've given them this plan, and this always works. When you are having your last night of shift work, get home, rather than sleeping a full 8 hours, to shift back into your night sleep. You get home, you sleep only 3 hours. Don't try and do too much through that first day. Do the washing, do the lounging around.
Just putter along.
Yeah. You're not going to be super alert. But the thing is that by only having 3 hours of sleep and being not overly functional during the day, that means that you'll almost instantly go back into your night sleep, and then you have really good quality sleep that night and then for the following nights. Yeah.
Okay.
But outside of that, melatonin is actually used best for shift workers because it promotes sleep.
You mean taking it, supplement?
Yes. Yeah. And that's particularly for day sleeps. Outside of that, doing the bedtime routine that we spoke, doing that even when you're getting home at 7 o'clock in the morning. Remember what we said about the brain and expecting and the psychology of expectation? So that is relevant here as well.
Got it.
So even though it feels like you just want to dive straight into bed, no. Get home, do your bedtime routine. In terms of eating, ideally don't eat and then go straight to bed. But if you are absolutely starving, then I'd recommend our dessert, which is that banana smoothie. Yeah,
banana smoothie. That's so good. How do you cure insomnia? So if someone's got insomnia and they're just going nuts, how do you actually cure? I know you're with all these things. Is there anything different they should be doing, like to pull themselves back from such a frantic?
Yeah, I think if somebody's in a state of insomnia, like they haven't slept for days, then you really need to go to your GP and they have, I don't recommend sleeping.
I was going to say, do you recommend sleeping tablets?
So I don't, but if there is somebody, on the edge of a psychotic break from lack of sleep, which can happen. It's very normal, actually, when you're not sleeping for, days on end. You will literally feel like driving. A girl said to me yesterday, I didn't sleep for 3 days and I felt like jumping in my car and driving off the edge of a cliff because it completely, you're deranged. You're deranged. And so, so do I recommend sleeping pills in general? No. But if it's going to save your life, yes, do what you need, but make sure that you speak to a proper, GP, a proper sleep psychologist who can guide you through that process.
Yeah. A couple more questions, and then I want to talk about your thing that's going on, your program. The exercise at night. Should people exercise at night or not?
Ideally, finish exercise at 6, 7 p.m.
Latest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, it heats up your core body temperature, which, remember, is a problem for melatonin production.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that there's sufficient time for your body to cool down and get into that rest and digest mode before sleep.
Work out in the morning better?
Yes. So working out in the morning is extremely beneficial for energy production. So it basically helps. So that working out in the morning has crazy amounts of benefits. So it helps entrain your body into the daylight cycle, so day-night cycle. So basically you are more alert in the morning and you are more fatigued in the evening. Now it also spikes your cortisol levels, your awakening hormones, your dopamine, your happiness hormones. Now in the morning this is good because you wake up and feel good. You're also more reliant on natural energy, so you're less reliant on things like caffeine, which then you can go into that caffeine high and the caffeine crash. So chances are if you have morning exercise, you not only feel more alert in the morning from your endorphins, but you have less caffeine and you go to bed earlier. So absolute game changer. And the thing is, even if you are not super, super alert in the morning, it doesn't have to be, a 20-kilometer run. Move for 20 minutes. At a minimum.
Something.
At a minimum, do something outside in the sun for 20 minutes. Even if you're just standing there stretching, that is still going to be helpful to promote alertness, to promote an earlier bedtime, and to promote you feeling more energetic and using less coffee, which is going to then help with your overall sleep.
When you get into all this, you really don't want to take the coffees or the pre-workouts or anything because you're on such you motor along so well. You don't need it because your body just starts humming, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Last question. Parents with broken sleep and who have kids, what do they do? Because obviously their sleep is being broken by kids waking up and things like this. What do they do? I understand that is there any tips at all, or they just got to ride through it and grit their teeth?
Yeah. Okay, so like all of the things that we've spoken about today, caffeine, movement, the bedtime routine, even though your darling toddler is waking you up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you can still be proactive and do within reason the bedtime routine, do within reason the caffeine, do within reason the movement. It's not going to be possible every single night because sometimes you're so sleep deprived you can't even move or you don't have the motivation or energy, right? But the more that you can get into those routines that support sleep, then that is going to, and looping right back to the start of our conversation, even if you're just having 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
If you have 2 hours of sleep, but it's deep quality sleep, that is going to be far more valuable than if you have 2 hours of sleep, but it's super, super light and it's a complete write-off.
Great point. That's a good one. It's I think it's very relevant because life's busy and then you've got kids and then things and then so it's more going for the quality of sleep rather than the length.
Yep.
Where if you need to, if you can only manage this block, the quality.
Correct.
So good. You've got a 12-week course coming up. I don't really promote things, but I want to promote this because I think it's very important. I think sleep underpins everything in life. And the more I've learned about it, the deeper I'm going into this. It's literally changed the way I am. So 12-week course, January till April, you're going to be coaching people as a group thing. And
so we've got weekly challenges, weekly actionables. It's a weekly Zoom for the group, and you will have a community page. You will have direct access to me, basically moving through, and it's called the Deep Sleep Challenge, because if there's one problem that I hear time and time again, it's that you're waking up through the night unable to fall back to sleep, and this challenge helps you overcome and manage that.
Amazing opportunity because people can't access you. You said before you got onto this, we were having a chat, you can't physically coach people because it's just too time consuming to do one. But this, they can access you for these months.
Yeah.
I'm highly recommending it. And I really rarely put my name on things, but I know really they're accessing all of your knowledge, all of your academic side, but all of your practical side. And you're obviously becoming well known around the world now. So I think, and you said that anyone who puts a code in MAT, M-A-T, they can get 20% off. That's fine. Yeah. It's $4.99, is it? Yeah, which is great value. I thought it would be like 10 times that amount. So that's really good.
Yeah.
And you got to go to Olivia.
Arezzollo.
You say, I can never say your last name. Can you please make sure people get it?
Oh, good. Yeah. We'll leave it in the show notes, but oliviaarezzollo.com.au.
Yeah, that's right. There'll be a link here as well.
Yeah.
I think people need to jump into that because you just can't perform right if your sleep's not right. And the more I've learned about it, it's an art. There's so much to it. Liv, thank you for coming down.
Thank you for having me. Honestly, you're a wealth of knowledge yourself, and it's always such a pleasure to spend time.
I just steal some of yours. So that's really good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.